Hello, welcome to Slices Dominant. My dad listens to this. I'm Juliet, the daughter.
And I'm Kevin the dad.
And this week we're all going on board a bus, but it's not the Magic School Bus and it's not the Who's regular Magic Bus. No, we're going on the bus for the Magical Mystery Tour, hosted by the Beatles. So, Dad, what do we need to know about this album? Because boy, is it a trip, along with the movie, which you can still find on YouTube for free.
Oh.
I did not watch it for this because I am too scared.
Okay. Well, yes, this is the soundtrack to the Beatles film of the same name. And in April 1967, after the Beatles completed Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band, Paul McCartney, quote, wanted to create a film that captured a psychedelic theme similar to that represented by author and LSD proponent Ken Kesey's Merry Pranksters on the U.S. West Coast.
And that was Yellow Submarine. No, wait, no, it wasn't.
It could have been.
Yeah.
Titled Magical Mystery Tour, it would combine Kesey's idea of a psychedelic bus ride with McCartney's memories of Liverpudlians holidaying on coach tours.
Okay.
Unquote. The film was to be unscripted. Various ordinary people were to travel on the coach and have unspecified magical adventures.
Oh, no.
Paul, along with John Lennon, George Harrison, and Ringo Starr, I like to think you know who they are by now, would play themselves as riders on the bus as well as magicians who made things happen on a whim.
Okay, that explains the wizard getup.
Yep.
Okay.
Now, there was also a fifth magician played by...
Oh, Mal Evans?
Yes!
I'm helping!
He was!
Oh my God, that's great.
The movie was filmed in and around an RAF, Royal Air Force West Mailing, a decommissioned military airfield, as it wasn't possible to book a London studio on short notice.
Okay, I guess that makes sense.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
Also, the movie was unscripted.
Which is bad.
Uh-oh.
Yep.
Also, Brian Wilson had died on August 27th. Uh-oh.
Brian Wilson?
And Brian Epstein.
You said Wilson.
Oh, sorry. Brian was still with us. Brian Epstein. I got my Brians mixed up because Mr. Wilson kind of does appear a little later. Anyway,
okay. Do you think Brian would have given the green light for this movie, though, had he been alive? Or would he have been said, no, this is ridiculous, we're not doing it?
Well, my next sentence is, but he'd given his approval for the project earlier in the year.
Damn it!
So he must have been experimenting with hallucinogens as well.
Yeah.
Anyway, the band met on September 1st with Paul urging the band to go ahead with the project as they needed something to focus on after Brian's death. Filming was done over a 2-week period from September 11th to the 25th of 1967. 10 hours of footage were whittled down to 52 minutes.
Ooh, how did they... I just want to see what the cutting room floor was like.
A mess.
Oof.
Magical Mystery Tour was filmed in color, but was shown in black and white on the BBC One on December 26, 1967, Boxing Day, because BBC One did not have color technology.
Why didn't they have color technology? But
it was shown in color on January 5th, 1968 on BBC Two.
Because BBC Two did have color?
You think they would have gone with that one first. But anyway, either way, it didn't matter because the movie didn't get good reviews, and it's considered the Beatles' first failure, which...
That's pretty good considering the streak they're on.
Yeah. No one at the BBC bothered to properly archive a negative, so re-releases were struck from poor quality prints. But a digital restoration was done in 2012, and it was released on DVD and Blu-ray in October of that year.
Really? Wow. It's got a Blu-ray release.
Yep.
It's more than the Room's got, I think.
As for the album, 6 songs were written specifically for the movie.
Okay.
Magical Mystery Tour was released as a double EP. The first EP contained Magical Mystery Tour and Your Mother Should Know on side 1 with I Am the Walrus on side 2. The second EP had The Fool on the Hill and Flying on side 1 with Blue Jay Way on side 2.
Yeah, George was usually the B-side.
It was released on December 8th, 1967. Oh, but he'd show them all come Abbey Road.
Yeah, he would.
Meanwhile, back in the States... EPs were not a popular format. Capitol Records made a full LP consisting of 11 songs. The 6 songs from Magical Mystery Tour made up side 1, while the Beatles' latest singles, Strawberry Fields Forever, back with Penny Lane, and All You Need Is Love, back with Baby You're a Rich Man, along with Hello Goodbye, whose B-side was I Am the Walrus, made up side 2. The Beatles were not happy about this.
Really?
But because their thing was, no, when we release singles, they're not supposed to be on albums.
Okay.
But this was one time when Capitol Records got their notorious Beatles finagling right.
Really?
It hit number 1 on Billboard's 200 albums chart and stayed there for 8 weeks.
Wow.
It also received a Grammy nomination for Album of the Year in 1969, losing to By the Time I Get the Phoenix by Glenn Campbell, which I believe Nana still has an original copy.
Whoa, she better not part with that ever.
Now, the LP version of Magical Mystery Tour was released in the UK in November of 1976. As bad as the reviews were for Magical Mystery Tour, the movie, Magical Mystery Tour, the album, was met with raves because, you know, it's the Beatles and they were musicians, not filmmakers. I mean, come on. The cover was unique in that for the first time, the Beatles' faces were not pictured.
Yep, they're all wearing masks.
Yep, they're all wearing animal costumes. The album title itself is in a groovy rainbow font. The band's name is made up of stars. The songs' titles are in Art Deco font with the 6 movie song titles written larger, and there are art clouds in the background.
Art pop clouds, you said?
Op art.
Oh, op art, okay.
Op art. Cloud, optical art.
Okay.
Clouds in the background. There's a lot going on in this cover.
But it doesn't look awful.
No, it's very psychedelic, man.
Yeah.
And the Paul is Dead clues on this album are John dressed as a walrus on the cover because the walrus is considered a symbol of death in Scandinavia, which is kind of a stretch.
Well, then in the White Album, he says, here's a clue for you, all the walrus was Paul.
Yep, so he's a walrus and he's dead in Scandinavia. In the booklet, there's a photo of Paul sitting at a desk in front of a sign that reads, I was.
Oops.
There's a photo of all 4 Beatles wearing white tuxes. Paul is the only one wearing a black carnation on his lapel, whilst John, George, and Ringo wear red carnations. Also, quote, according to music historian, Clinton Halen, the release of Magical Mystery Tour and of the Rolling Stones' Their Satanic Majesty's Request, released in December 1967,
oh boy,
which was the Stones' answer to Sgt. Pepper, inadvertently brought an end to psychedelic pop, unquote, for which we are thankful. The Beatles and Stones' follow-ups were the White Album and Beggar's Banquet, which were both 180 degrees from psychedelia as you can get.
Okay.
Now, I picked up the 2009 CD remaster of Magical Mystery Tour, I think from Newbury Comics at Quincy Market in Boston about a few years ago, because it was like really tough to find. And online, they wanted exorbitant fees. And I thought, nah, it's got to be somewhere. Anyway, the booklet reproduces the original 24-page booklet that came with the album. It includes photos from the movie, a 36-panel, tough-to-read comic version of the movie, and it's not tough to read because the font is small. It's just that the writing is excruciating. You just want it to be over. And that's the comic version. I mean, God knows what sitting through the movie was like, which I cannot bring myself to do. I think, yeah, I should. And
then I chicken out at the last minute.
Yeah, because it's like an hour I'm just never going to get back. And, you know, you got the album. You got all the songs. It also has the lyrics to the 6 songs that were written and performed just for the movie. And there are pictures of the band, too. And in these photos, John has 3 expressions. Why am I here?
Yep.
I don't want to be here.
Yep.
And get me out of here. And George seems to have some of those expressions in some of the pictures, too.
George also has a look of, what the hell's going on?
Now, let's see if this tour is worth taking.
First stop, Magical Mystery Tour. This song definitely feels like it was written to play over the opening credits of a movie. And now that I know the movie came first, they absolutely nailed the vibe. And it's basically saying the tour is about to begin, step on up. I like the sound of the opening vocals and the harmonies on Roll Up for the Mystery Tour. And I like that brief moment halfway through the song where it slows down the arrangement, gets simple, and then the tempo gradually picks up a little bit. Ringo's drums sound great too. If the goal of this track is to set the mood for what the rest of the album is going to be, then they did a successful job. And the way that this song started to end, it gave me more of a concept album vibe than Sgt. Pepper did. And I can't explain why, but maybe it's just because my brain associates concept albums with being a little more out there, and Sgt. Pepper has just cemented itself as not only one of the greatest concept albums in rock history, but just one of the greatest albums ever. So I'm more curious to see what the thread is that ties this album together, because in my brain, right, I didn't grow up on this album as much, so there's still a bit of an element of surprise in it for me, and I'm curious to see what this concept leads to.
Mm-hmm. So roll up for the greatest bus ride ever, or something like that.
Seatbelts, everyone!
Yep.
Please let this be a normal field trip. With the Beatles? No way! Aww.
The Magical Mystery Tour is waiting, is hoping, is coming, and it's even dying to take you away.
It's coming! The Easter Beagle is coming!
Satisfaction is guaranteed too. So, okay, it's not much in the lyrics department, but, like you said, it was written specifically to get this movie going, and it really does, because musically, Ringo is killing it with that thumping beat. I wonder, is he inventing punk drumming? Maybe.
I don't know.
There's actually a debate out there online that maybe he unknowingly was.
Do you agree or disagree?
I can kind of hear it a little bit, but I think it was picked up just a little faster than
you could argue. Okay.
There's also lots of horns and what sounds like the world's fastest bus racing by at one point.
Mm-hmm.
And Paul definitely shows off that he can roll his R's.
Mm-hmm.
But great opening track.
Next track, Fool on the Hill. The first time I heard this song was the cover that Eurythmics did for the tribute, the Beatles' 50th anniversary of coming to America. I loved how Annie Lennox sang it, Dave B playing on acoustic guitar, and how they had, I think it was a full orchestra or string section. I don't remember which one.
Yeah, they definitely had the strings going on. You had me watch the...
Yep, but it was so beautiful and lush. Then when I listened to the original afterward for the first time, I found it kind of quaint by comparison. Listening to it now, I like it. The arrangement is still simple with the piano, and I like the message that the flute and the piano, pardon me. And I like the message that the individual that the collective dismisses as other is actually the most brilliant one among them and is the one who sees everything and pays attention. It's a common trope in fantasy, the wise fool. And sure, maybe the recorder can be a little bit shrill and hokey, but then the whatever it is that sounds like a harmonica can sound a bit of hokey too. But I think it's one of Paul's better songs just because it's simple and he sings the story with heart and you can't ask for more than that. And you also sent me Sergio Mendes in Brazil 66. I like how at the end you hear the madness of the fool in his brain. That part was cool. But the rest of the bossa nova vibe, I'm like, I don't know how I feel about this, but it doesn't sound like Fool on the Hill to me, but it sounds fun.
Mm-hmm. Okay, this is a Paul song, and yes, there's that trope about, oh, he's foolish, but he's wise.
Mm-hmm.
In this case, he wrote it about the Maharishi Mahesh Yogi.
Oh, no!
Yeah, which I never knew until I was doing research for this podcast, and so I gotta say thanks for nothing interwebs.
So what's the better Maharishi song, this or Sexy Sadie?
Well, we'll get into that.
Okay.
He's looked on as a fool, but he's really smart, which I say, barf. This was before the Beatles, except George, but especially John, figured out that the Maharishi was full of shit. Which led John to write Sexy Sadie, which is a much better song about the guy, especially, you'll get yours yet. Oh, you will, you son of a bitch.
And George was like, maybe don't say Maharishi, maybe say something else so we don't get sued. Okay, thanks.
Yep. Lots of interesting instruments go on this one.
Say that 3 times fast.
That noise that you're trying to figure out is John playing something called the bass harmonica.
Okay, that's what it is.
As well as a Jew's harp. Paul plays the recorder and the penny whistle, and George also chips on bass harmonica, and Ringo contributes maracas and finger cymbals. Their version is the first one I heard, and I always thought, it's okay, I've never skipped over it. I kind of think Sergio Mendes in Brazil 66 did a better job. It's kind of like Herb Alpert meets Burt Bacharach.
I can hear what you're going for with that.
And the Eurythmics version I really like, and
That's my
at
favorite.
the end you see that they get a standing ovation
From Paul leading it.
and Ringo,
Yep.
and yeah, they definitely deserved it. But yeah, Sergio Mendes got that nice bossa nova feel going on, and I think they did a good job.
And Chrissy Teigen is sitting in the audience going, why can't my husband write something like this? Just jamming out. Along with my other favorite thing is when they have Danny and Jeff Lynne and one of the guys from Eagles perform something. And then you just see Adam Lambert from Maroon 5 sitting there with his wife, and she's singing along, and he's just staring so seriously at this.
Adam Lambert or Levine?
Adam Levine.
Adam Levine.
Sorry,
Okay.
Adam Lambert. I would never dishonor you like that by associating you with Maroon 5. But yeah, Adam Levine did also perform Ticket to Ride. It was a straight cover. It was fine. He didn't ruin it. Anyway.
Wow, I'm surprised.
With
Because everything he touches turns to
just
crap.
shit. Yeah, I know. I think people were hoping that Todd in the Shadows in particular on YouTube was hoping that his Super Bowl performance would be the death knell, would be the final nail in the coffin for Maroon 5. And what ended up being the death knell was him cheating on his wife. I don't know if she was pregnant or just had a baby, but it wasn't so good.
Okay.
Next track, Flying! I was quite intrigued when the description of the song on Spotify stated that this was an instrumental, but you can hear all four of the Beatles harmonizing together. I definitely think that because of the etherealness of the instrumental, I should say, it does capture the floating sensation of flying. Like, I've never flown in the air myself, except in my dreams, but I've been in an airplane. I guess that counts. I love how the flutes get distorted at the end. I think you could really feel like you were floating in the song if you were on some sort of substance. What I'm curious about is, and I'm hoping you can answer this for me with your notes, is how much work did George Martin have to do in the studio with this? Because I don't know the extent of his involvement with this album compared to other Beatles albums, but I definitely know he had a classical music background, and he was very skilled when it came to arranging. So was it a case where all the Beatles came to him and said, we want an instrumental that sounds like this, and he took it from there? Because I'd love to know how it was constructed.
That I don't know, but I think in this case, it was George Martin herding cats.
Aww.
Just trying to keep everything together as best as he could.
All right, lads.
Yeah.
Oh, poor George.
This is the rarest of rare credits. Lennon, McCartney, Harrison, Starkey.
I know, it's not that often.
Because it's an instrumental. And it was played during various parts of the movie, which I'm not sure what they were, but anyway, it's, I guess, the instrumental theme throughout the movie. The guys do vocalize sort of da da da, la la la. It gets trippy at the 1 minute 48 second mark. It's definitely of its time, but it's not bad for an instrumental. But also, it's not going to make people forget she loves you.
Next track, Blue Jay Way. The first time I ever heard this song was when it was used in Scorsese's documentary on George Harrison, Living in the Material World, which if you haven't watched it, do yourself a favor, get the DVD from the library and put it on TV. It's the best 3-hour documentary you could ever have on George. And
said the non-partisan George fan.
Oh, no, I am fully biased. George is the best one. Anyway, that's why I agree with that. I don't know what the name of the comedy show is in England, but it's like the Beatles consisted of George Harrison, Ringo Starr, and the 2 guitarists. I think that was to get back at George only getting a quota of 1 song per album. Anyway, so Blue Jay Way was used in a sequence in Living in the Material World when I think the Beatles were really starting to get tired of the dog and pony show that was touring and they wanted to do something else. So when they first played this song, Dad, you have to understand, I was at the age where I thought all songs must have a deeper meaning. And I thought this was George talking about how he and the people in his life had lost their way due to fame, and how there was this fog descending upon Los Angeles that was actually corrupting everybody's soul because he was starting to get into transcendental meditation and converting to Hinduism, and he was seeing people fall to the sickly mentality of fame. Nope. I learned very later that the song is literal because this song was published on the Beatles YouTube channel for one of George's birthdays. I think it might have been 70 or something, I don't know. But the song is literally about how 2 of George's friends are supposed to pick him up in Los Angeles, and they got lost. And it sounds like the ultimate death knell because George is just sitting there waiting, and there's this drum that just bangs, bangs, bangs with a single mallet like a death sentence. And George's voice captures the haziness of the fog descending upon the city because it's Los Angeles. Of course, there's fog. And he really hopes his friends won't take too much longer picking him up. One other thing I love about this is how George either uses his voice or the other Beatles' voices to sound like the friends trying to find him in the fog, almost as if they're passing by him in their car without even realizing it. And the point I feel the most bad for him is when he goes, "Well, it's past my bedtime, I know." Just picture this. You're George Harrison, one of the most famous people on the planet. You're sitting probably on a bus bench in Los Angeles, and your friends can't find you, so you're hoping nobody takes advantage of you or finds you sleeping on the bench, and you really just want to go to bed. It creates the perfectly scary and creepy vibe of wondering where your friends are and just wanting to go home now. I think this might have been the creepiest George ever got, but it works really well.
Okay, I'll go a little deeper with the story. So
Okay.
yeah, it was written and sung by George. He wrote it while waiting for publicist Derek Taylor to find his
Ah.
way to a house on Blue Jay Way in Los Angeles where George and Patty were staying.
Mm-hmm.
It was foggy, but Taylor eventually did find his way to the house.
Mm-hmm.
And it starts off, "There's a fog upon LA and my friends have lost their way." George and Derek Taylor eventually made their way to San Francisco, specifically the Ashbury area,
Oh, and he
which
hated
was
it.
the hippie capital of the world. They were expecting to find artistic, enlightened folks. And whom did they find?
I know this quote from it's in the documentary. George said, "All I saw were a bunch of bums."
Yeah, addicts and dropouts and hypocrites, man.
Mm-hmm.
George went back to England, shared his disappointment with John, and they swore off LSD and embraced transcendental meditation until that backfired for John anyway.
Well, George stuck with it for the rest of his life, so it worked for him.
But I'm surprised George didn't question TM, especially when he had stayed at the same compound in Rishikesh in 1968 along with Beach Boy Mike Love, the world's
Oh no, the world's
angriest
angriest.
TM practitioner. But then again, George knew what to do with TM,
Yeah, he did. He fully embraced it.
and he didn't go around suing everyone.
And to be fair, Olivia and Danny adopted that as part of their own spiritual practice, but of their own free will. I don't know if George forced them to or not, but they still continued it after he was dead to honor him.
You want to live with me, you're gonna learn it. Anyway,
Anyway,
the song definitely has a dreamy quality, as George was dealing with jet lag when he wrote it, and he was struggling to stay awake.
which that's fair because he's not in the East Coast United States where the time difference is only about 5 hours from England. This is West Coast United
So
States.
you've got 8 hour difference.
Yeah, he's tired.
So yeah, this is a really deep Beatles track. It's a really good song. And that's, and I'm not making this up, uncredited session musician on the cello.
Oh, I wish they got credited. Like those. Wait, when we did Revolver, did we ever find out the identities of the people who played strings on Eleanor Rigby, or were those also uncredited and still are?
I think we may have,
Found their names?
maybe, I think. I'd have to go back and check my notes, but you can find that on Wikipedia
Okay.
or anywhere else online.
Next track, Your Mother Should Know.
Oh, she should know better, but
Imagine Paul McCartney calling your mother old right to your face. That's essentially what he does. I was first introduced to this song via a meme on TikTok where it's the music video for this song and it's captioned POV, point of view, Catholics at Mass every 10 minutes, and it cuts to Paul McCartney singing Let's All Get Up. So yeah, this song pretty much does what it says on the tin. Let's all sing a song that your mother should know because she's so old. I think Paul is trying to make this sound like English music hall or
Oh,
a pub
definitely.
song on purpose. It's pleasant and I can bob my head along to it. It feels like a song someone of an older generation in England would have listened to, and they nail it. Is it my favorite? No, but does what it's supposed to do.
I kind of look at this as When I'm 64, Part 2.
Mm-hmm.
So, do we call this When I'm 65? Anyway, yeah,
When I'm 64 and a half.
Paul wrote and sang on this one, and it's definitely music hall, which he definitely was a fan of. But it was his attempt to bridge the generation gap because he thought, your mom might know more than you think, which it's 1967 going into 68, and I don't think the hippies were like down with that, man.
No.
But Paul meant well.
Yeah.
And if you listen very closely, you can hear, yes, you can hear John rolling his eyes while singing the background vocals.
Oh my god.
Oh, yeah, they're all the way in the back of his head.
Next track, I Am the Walrus.
You am?
Look, it's like Lennon said, you look for the person who will benefit, and I'm the walrus. Shut the fuck up, Donnie! Vladimir Ilyich Ulyanov! Okay, I had to get that in there. Anyway, go watch The Big Lebowski. Dad needs a minute. Okay, so if you don't know the urban legend, John Lennon wrote this song to have no meaning on purpose after a student wrote him saying their teacher made them analyze Beatles songs the way most professors have students analyze classical texts in the literary canon. John does throw you off by referencing Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds with Hare Krishna, but if that urban legend is true, I shall not try to delve deeper. What I will say is Lewis Carroll was purported to be an influence on John's creative style, and I could definitely hear it here. This wouldn't be out of place with the Walrus and the Carpenter song, or 'Twas Brillig and the Slivey Toves. And musically, it does feel as if you stepped into Wonderland. Maybe this was to foreshadow the psychedelic art the Beatles would push the boundaries with Yellow Submarine, the film. Probably one of the most iconic nonsense songs of all time, and it's definitely very English in its musical tone. And this is one point I would make. I do believe John would have embraced his more experimental nature without Yoko in his life. It just might have taken a different form, or maybe happened at a different point in his timeline. If you listen to this, you know it was always there.
Yep. So obviously this was written by John, and it's also his first full-blown lead vocal on the album.
Oh,
Yeah, it's been
okay.
either an instrumental or George or Paul. And yes, that is true. He did write it in response to a letter he received from a former student at Lennon's former school about how the kid was saying, me and my classmates were spending lit class analyzing your lyrics.
So thanks a lot, man.
Yeah, so John decided, hey, you know what? I'm just going to throw a bunch of crap together and just make people go nuts trying to interpret it. So there's a lot going on in the lyrics. The Walrus refers to Lewis Carroll's poem, The Walrus and the Carpenter, from Through the Looking Glass. And John would go on to say that he didn't realize that the walrus was the bad guy in the poem.
What?
But then he also realized he really couldn't have called the song I Am the Carpenter.
No.
Some
I'm the Walrus just flows better off the tongue.
Some things are meant to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, he does name check Lucy from Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds. And then the line, man, you should have seen them kicking Edgar Allan Poe. That sounds like a line from a Dylan song. And John did say, yeah, he was trying to go for like
Bob vibe.
Dylan non sequiturs throughout the song. And the Eggman. What's with the Eggman? Eric Burden from The Animals claims that he's the Eggman due to a, how shall I put this delicately, an encounter he had with a woman and an egg was involved.
Oh, dear God.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. And I believe Goo 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 Tube comes from Finding Nemo. No, not Finding Nemo. From Finnegan's Wake by James Joyce.
Finnegan's Wake and Finding Nemo are two very different things.
But there is, Mr. Turtle.
Oh, yeah. Goo 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 Jib, man.
Yep.
Yeah.
At the end, the Mike Sam's singers start chanting, what? Are they chanting, everybody smoke pot? Everybody's got one?
I don't know.
Nobody knows.
And we're not supposed to, because it's not supposed to mean anything.
And while that's going on, there's a dramatic reading from King Lear. John had recorded it directly from an AM radio he was fiddling with.
That's what it is. Huh.
Yeah, he tuned it to a BBC station, and there's King Lear being broadcast. And that's class. Turning on the radio and you hear King Lear, that's class. Even classier, the BBC banned I Am the Walrus due to the line, boy, you've been a naughty girl, you let your knickers down.
Scandalous.
And I had to look up, well, what exactly are knickers? Underwear.
You didn't know that?
Well, I want to know, was it a specific type of underwear? And it's what the ladies wear. Anyway, musically, there's 8 violin players, 4 cellists, 1 clarinetist, and 3 horn players. And as a whole, it's all a glorious mess that actually holds together. And I Am the Walrus was picked as the B-side for Hello Goodbye, which John was not happy about at all.
I can't blame him.
And we will get into that come the next song. But for now, this is the end of the original double EP for the movie. And now we've got these 5 songs that Capitol tacked on.
Next track, Hello Goodbye. I think I first heard this song in a Target commercial.
Okay.
At first I thought this was the Beatles version of Opposites Attract, but it's about 2 people with 2 different outlooks in life, which makes me want to ask this question to get it out of the way now. Did Paul write this about Jane Asher?
No, he did not. We will get into the specifics.
Okay, this was a song I used to skip on Spotify quite frequently, but for this podcast, I watched the music video, and the vibe is odd. First, they're wearing their Sergeant Pepper uniforms, and they do a costume change with footage edited in of them wearing their old suits from the 60s. But watching it, you do get the sense that the band is starting to fracture a bit, or at least they find this whole thing as strange as we do. First, George has this vibe of, why the hell am I here? Because he looks like he's in a daze. And at one point, all these ladies in hula skirts randomly show up at the end to dance with the Beatles, and poor George is all by his lonesome, looking around like, what am I going to get my girl? And then there's this moment where Paul tries to make it this thing where he stomps his foot on the ground. John sees and goes along with it for a few seconds because they're besties, but George is like, hell no, I'm not doing that. And Ringo's just playing his drums, happy to be there. But what also contributes to the weird vibe is how you can tell they're lip syncing. It's so painfully obvious, and Paul trying to be a showman just makes it more weird. The top YouTube comment nailed it. Quote, this whole video just radiates this was Paul's idea energy. So if you want to witness an awkward moment in the Beatles' history, kind of indicating that the band was going to be approaching the end soon, watch this video.
Yep, of course, this was written by Paul, and it started off as a word association exercise between Paul and Alastair Taylor, who was Brian Epstein's assistant. Paul was at a harmonium, a pump organ, and asked Taylor to say the opposite of whatever word Paul said. But he did, but Taylor did not get a songwriting credit. So, yes, no, stop, go, goodbye, hello, hi, low, why, I don't know. Very simple lyrics.
Mm-hmm.
But could any of us come up with something this simple?
No.
No.
We try to zhuzh it up too much.
And this is going to sound weird, but the more I hear this song, the more I love it. Can't explain it. I love Ringo's drumming. I love the fake ending. And yeah, John was pissed that I Am the Walrus took the B-side to this, but even he conceded that Hello Goodbye was the more commercially viable song. Oh, and I watched that video too with the Beatles dressed as Sergeant Pepper.
Yeah, isn't it weird?
And at one point, you can see John standing behind George, kind of leaning over, looking pissed because I think he wanted to wear the hat that George has on.
I want that hat. I want that hat.
Give me that hat.
Do you like my hat?
Or things will happen. Also, Ringo's drums, if you look, they are set up so ridiculously low, but the man does not miss a beat at all, even though they're like
playing to a recording.
Yeah, he nails it. Let me tell you something, people. It is a serious mistake to underestimate that man.
Correct.
And then, Paul starts stomping his foot, and John looks and decides, hey,
do that too.
I can do that too. And son of a gun, he does.
George is just looking at both of them like, oh, for God's sake.
Is it over yet? Is it over yet? Is it over yet?
I want to go back to meditating now. Next track? Or are you done?
I am done.
Next track, Strawberry Fields Forever. I remember Philip Norman writing about Strawberry Fields in his biography of John, which is an excellent book, although you won't look at Mick Jagger and Mars bars the same way again for reasons I can't go into on the internet. I also found Philip's biography of George good, if a bit apologetic in tone. It felt like he was writing to say sorry for the time he made Olivia mad, which, what do you have to do to upset Olivia? Anyway, Strawberry Fields was a Salvation Army home John spent a lot of time in as a kid when he grew up in Woolton. The brass band would play at the garden party that John looked forward to every year. He wrote this song during downtime while filming How I Won the War, which I really want to watch. If anyone has it on file, please send it my way. John described it as psychoanalysis set to music, and this song to me does sound like someone who's trying to convey all these thoughts in his brain, cramming for attention. So he's trying to express them in the best way he can, and the only way he knows how, music. But even then, the thoughts are still muddled because he isn't quite sure what they mean. But there is a sense of a sigh of relief in here. Now that he has these thoughts out, he feels like it's going to be okay. And at the end of the day, he still has that kid from Liverpool in him. That's how I interpret it. And I just will end this with this thought. John's look with the short hair, glasses, and handlebar mustache is my favorite look of his. It suits him perfectly. In a way, being clean shaven with short hair or any type of facial hair with long hair didn't really work.
Okay. Yep. So as you said, John wrote this based on childhood memories of playing in the garden at Strawberry Field, which was a Salvation Army children's home in Liverpool. He also said, quote, I was different all my life. The second verse goes, no one I think is in my tree. Well, I was too shy and self-doubting. Nobody seems to be as hip as me is what I was saying. Therefore, I must be crazy or a genius. I mean, I must be high or low. And at the end, we get some Paul is dead controversy. Is John saying cranberry sauce or I buried Paul?
What? Those are two different sounding sentences on their own.
I know, Lennon swore it was cranberry sauce, but I'm not going for that. Plus, sometimes I think when the Paul is dead rumors thing started, I think they kind of played into it a little bit. Like, let's throw him a bone. Let's make people nuts. The video is interesting because there's that line, no one I think is in my tree, but Paul spends most of his time up in the tree.
Yeah.
Which is like string to some sort of upright piano. It's
I can't tell what it is.
very strange. Anyway, this was the first song the Beatles recorded after completing Revolver.
Oh.
It was meant to be on Sgt. Pepper, but Parlophone wanted new product now.
Okay.
Right now.
Now, damn it.
So they released Strawberry Fields as a single with Penny Lane as the other A-side. Strawberry Fields went to number 8 in the U.S., while Penny Lane went to number 1.
Damn it.
George Martin said it was his biggest regret that those two songs did not appear on Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band.
Wow.
Strawberry Fields Forever has a huge Wikipedia page if you want to get into all the technical aspects of the song.
Oh, yeah.
For me, this song has always been about Ringo's drumming. Lots of great fills. And our guy, Mal Evans, is helping out on tambourine.
Good for Mal. Next track, Penny Lane. Now we have Paul's Liverpool song. This and Strawberry Fields being released as the double A-side makes complete sense. Of the music videos on YouTube for this album, the Penny Lane one is my favorite. The Beatles meet on the street, where John shows off his new shades, the ugliest pair I've ever seen in my life. But after a quick walk on Penny Lane, all four in red coats get on horses and ride off to the English countryside, probably to mimic the look of fox hunters. But you'll notice George's horse is the only one that's brown. The other three are riding white horses, which is perfect for George, who after all had the label Dark Horse. Now, Penny Lane is a song about taking the place you grew up in with you everywhere you go, and it's a feel-good song, and I do prefer it to Strawberry Fields. But, don't look up fish and finger pie. It's not what you think it is. Fish finger pie exists, which I thought is what this song was referring to, but oh no, fish and finger pie is not that.
Third base.
Thanks, Dad. I also learned that from the Philip Norman biography on John, too, and when I first read that, I was like, oh no. Anyway.
Okay, this was written by Paul as a response to Strawberry Fields, because, John did it, and Paul probably said, hey, I can do that too. Because, Paul had a childhood too, Whereas Strawberry Fields is introspective, Paul wrote about a various cast of characters around Penny Lane. A banker, a barber, a fireman. The one I never could figure out was a poppy-selling nurse. Shouldn't she be working at the hospital or something? Maybe it was some sort of charity thing. Anyway, musically, it's a lot more Beatles-ish than Strawberry Fields, if that makes sense. I don't know. Anyway, David Mason from the English Chamber Orchestra plays the piccolo trumpet solo.
Ooh.
Which kind of elevates the song to
bouncy, bouncy.
Yeah. He got paid 27 pounds and 10 shillings, he did.
Good for him. Next track, Baby, You're a Rich Man. I always heard that the song was about Brian Epstein, and he knew it was about him, and it did hurt his feelings, even if he never said it. The original claim is that John threw the F slur in there at one point, baby, you're a rich blank Jew, which, are we surprised? It reminds me of the evil Beatles sketch I saw on Instagram, where John's evil version of himself is just himself. Hey lads, want to hear a new slur I learned? No, John, we don't. Oh, and for those curious, Ringo's evil side is Rongo. Paul's is Luap, which is just Paul spelled backwards. And George's is Wife Stealer. Anyway, I know that Baby You're a Rich Man was the double A side with the next track we're going to talk about, but I love to imagine a world where this was the A side And the other side was Randy Newman's It's Lonely at the Top. Because think about it. They're asking him how it feels to be on top and what are the upper crust now that he's rich. And having that as the juxtaposition of you think I would be happy, but I'm not, would be mwah, not my favorite on the album. Next!
Okay, this was written by John and Paul. The working title was One of the Beautiful People, for which John wrote the verses. Paul came up with the Baby You're a Rich Man chorus.
Mm-hmm.
Theories abound as to who this could be about. Yeah, it could be about the Beatles manager Brian Epstein.
Mm-hmm.
And I was doing some research on that line you mentioned.
Yeah.
And they said there's no real proof that that's in the song.
Okay.
But they said that when John was writing it, he took pot shots at everyone.
Oh, yeah, he didn't care.
Yeah. And so it's kind of like, you kind of come to your own conclusions, I guess. But Lennon claimed that the meaning of the song was that everybody is a rich man, saying, quote, the point was stop moaning. You're a rich man. We're all rich men. Like, I think, see, John, this is why Steely Dan wrote Only a Fool Would Say That.
Mm-hmm.
George Harrison said the message was that all individuals are wealthy within themselves, regardless of material concerns.
Amen, George.
Which is a very George thing to say.
Yes.
Great bass playing by Paul on this one. And we also get some claveline playing as well, which was a synthesizer forerunner.
Oh.
It's making that high oboe sound that sounds like a backwoods guitar that is throughout the whole song. And one Mick Jagger is somewhere on the background vocals. Probably buried deep in there somewhere. And the Beatles would return the favor by singing background on We Love You, the Stone song.
Final track, All You Need Is Love. Here we go, the Beatles song I've heard mocked the most. Entertainment Weekly, I remember, put it at the bottom of their list of the 50 best Beatles songs. However, I'm going to defend it by citing one of my favorite YouTube channels, Cinema Therapy. Licensed therapist Jonathan Decker says, the Beatles were right. All you need is love, because real love comes with mutual safety, accountability, dependable daily effort, trust, and shared dreams in addition to that initial spark. So if you look at it through the healthy lens, the lads were right. However, John himself said he didn't really understand what he was singing about until he met Yoko. Go watch his Blank on Blank episode from PBS for more. I do find the opening horns a little hokey, but maybe it's supposed to convey love's majesty. But I find the song's message still making me smile, especially knowing that this was for the broadcast to promote world peace, I believe. And I do have to say, I love how they animate this sequence for the Yellow Submarine film with the word love sprouting everywhere as the Beatles touch the ground with their feet. The ending is still a jam too, as they repeat, love is all you need, with clapping over and over. And Paul singing She Loves You gets me to smile. So screw the cynics, I love this song. You're gonna shit on it, aren't you? I saw that look on your face. All right, Dad, go ahead. Pop my bubble.
It was written by John, and the Beatles were asked to represent Britain on Our World, the first live multinational, multi-satellite TV production, which was broadcast on June 25th, 1967. It was seen in 25 countries by over 400 million people. The Beatles were asked to provide a song with a message that could be understood by everyone. John kept the lyrics simple. Now, per Wikipedia, in a statement to Melody Maker magazine, Brian Epstein, the band's manager, said, of All You Need Is Love, it was an inspired song, and they really wanted to give the world a message. The nice thing about it is that it cannot be misinterpreted.
Yeah.
It is a clear message saying that love is everything, to which I say, money helps too. A lot. The song starts off with a bit of the La Marseillaise.
Oh, La Marseillaise?
Dun, 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 yep. And ends with a mashup of Glenn Miller's In the Mood, Green Sleeves, She Loves You, and allegedly Yesterday is somewhere in there, but I have yet to hear it, and I've tried really hard.
Okay.
It's viewed as a flower power anthem, to which I say, like, wow, man, because then 1968 happened.
Yep.
It's an all right song. It's not my favorite. I've never skipped over it. I'd say maybe it's one of my least favorite songs of theirs. I'm gonna say it. To me, it just comes across as naive. And again, it's another reason that Steely Dan came up with Only a Fool Would Say That. But I did ask your mother. I said, okay, All You Need Is Love. Yes or no?
Did she say no?
She thought about it, and she said yes, as she thinks love is the root of everything. Example, if you love what you do, the money will follow.
That's true.
So she will always see the glass half full, while I will always see it as 9/16 empty.
And maybe a little bit of dirt on the glass, too.
Oh, yeah, I'm not going to drink out of that.
Overall, my thoughts on Magical Mystery Tour haven't really changed. It's an album in the Beatles' discography that exists, but it's not my go-to or one I'd pick. Is it my least favorite? Well, least favorite usually implies bad, but there's nothing bad about this.
It's just the one that you're not going to listen to the most.
Yeah, and I was thinking, like, would I rather listen to this or the White Album? And the White Album I thought was pretty out there, but that's nothing compared to this. So this is the weird child of the Beatles albums that you look at and go, oh yeah, you're here too. Huh. So yeah, it may be my least favorite Beatles album, which is such a weird thing to say because all of them are good and none of them are bad, but yeah, this is the one I would be least likely to listen to.
Well, I mean, eventually, everyone ranks them
Oh yeah, of course.
in order of preference.
How about you, Dad?
All in all, it's a solid album. It's not the greatest thing that they ever did, but, that would be Revolver. But it's not a bad way to kill 40 minutes or so. And, most bands back then would have killed to make an album like this.
That's true.
This is kind of like them saying, yeah, we're just going to put this out
Because even the Beatles
and not break a sweat.
Even the Beatles at their most meh, for some bands, that's them at their best.
Exactly.
All right, as always, thank you for listening to Lace and Stone, and my dad listens to this. Like, comment, subscribe, and all that jazz. The more you interact with the YouTube video, the greater chance we have of appearing on the homepage. If you follow me on social media, I post the episodes there. If you're friends with my dad, tell him what you want to listen to, and we'll send it right to your inbox. Before we sign off, though, we are taking a break for the rest of the month of August, as Kevin the dad and Jane the mom are going to be having a very lovely trip in Europe. And they're going to be very tired when they get back, so the podcast will be coming back in September. I will also make some posts about this on social media, but guess what? We have 8 years of content that you can listen to in the meantime. Yeah, Dad, we've been doing this for 8 years.
Oh, I'm so sorry, listeners.
So if you miss us, you got some old episodes that you can go back to or catch up on if you've just joined us for the first time, which, hello there. All right, as always, thank you for listening to the latest episode of My Dad Listens to This. We'll be back in September with another album to pick and gripe about. Dad, anything you want to say before we sign off?
I can say that I could never go on a Magical Mystery Tour because I need to know exactly where I'm going.
And also, don't get car sick.